necessarily mean it corresponds with reality, right? And an old statement by someone who is religious, which doesn't really make sense to me, but facts over feelings, and I really hold to that statement.
Okay. All right.
Is there anything else you want to talk about or add?
Nah, I'm chilling.
Appreciate the good evening. Thank you so much. Let me go on to the next person. Appreciate you coming on, man. Again, if you like my content, follow me if you're ready. Everyone, tap that screen. Let's try to get to 500,000 likes. If you want to help get out to more people, share the live, everyone. Thank you for the hat and mustache. I appreciate it. El Primo, thank you so much. I'm going to go on to the next person. Again, if you like my content, follow me, everyone. If you have not already, I go live literally every single day, y'all. Yo, thank you for the hearts. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yo, what's up? How old are you? Hello? All right, we're going to get to the next person. Again, only send a guest request if you disagree, everyone. We are just looking for some debates, y'all. We are just looking for some debates. Yo, what's up? How old are you?
26.
Do you think that God exists?
I would say in my own personal belief, I do. But I know
What God?
Jesus Christ.
Why so?
Just because that's my faith. Like, nobody can force you to believe or force you to be into a religion, I'd say. That's everybody's choice. Just like there's studies on science, how it's testable and verifiable and stuff like that for the probable cause of how Earth was created. But I can't prove to you that's God is what I'm saying is I can't prove to you that he exists. You have to believe that yourself, just like you can't prove to me that science can definitively say that the Earth was created by these things that they tested because they're not 100% factual. They're 99.9%.
I'm not asking for 100%. I'm asking for like most likely. Do you have most likely evidence of God existing?
Yeah, through my faith is what I'm saying. Like you don't believe it.
Your faith doesn't make it most likely. I could have faith that the tooth fairy created the universe. Does that make it most likely?
No, I'm saying through my faith. Like through my faith and my own personal belief, I believe that. Just like you have your own faith and personal belief.
So if I have faith that it's most likely that the tooth fairy created the universe, is that just as justified as your worldview?
You can, if that's what you believe.
So if I believe that SpongeBob and Patrick created the universe, right, is that just as justified as your worldview?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's everybody's own personal.
And you think that's a like a valid method?
Well, that's just being ignorant. That's
Angie. I appreciate the Venmo. Thank you so much, Angie.
I mean, you're making
being ignorant. What's being ignorant?
You're making assumptions that are like. Sorry. Like stuff like that. Yeah, it makes sense because you can believe in whatever you want. Is what I'm saying.
Are you a cop, by the way?
Huh?
Are you a cop, by the way?
Yeah.
I was just making sure. It just sounded like it was. There's nothing bad there. I was asking.
Yeah, I turned down my radio. No, I'm just saying like everybody has their own personal beliefs to believe in whatever they want is what I'm saying. Like a believer of Christ can't make you believe or prove to you anything. It's all through your own faith is what I'm saying. Like I can't make you believe it or prove it to you at all. Just like science can't prove that the earth was created by everything that they've said. It's not 100% definitive.
I'm not asking for 100%. I don't think any of these models are 100%, right? Again, I'm asking for what's most likely. So if you have evidence that can indicate something to be most likely, and then I would believe that, right? If you don't have evidence, that can't indicate likelihood. Because if you don't have evidence, there is no probability assertion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, I'm not saying I can prove it to you is what I'm saying. I'm just saying
Sarah, thank you for the Venmo. I appreciate it. But no. By prove, I don't mean 100%. So can you prove it to me in terms of evidence?
If you've read the Bible and stuff like that, I guess you could. It's how everybody perceives it themselves, and it's your choice to believe it or not. Is what I'm saying.
But I don't think the evidence in the Bible is good, right? What tells you that the evidence in the Bible is good?
Just the different stories of how far back it's went. I mean, I know over time each story's changed in different ways and stuff like that through different religions and everything like that.
Hinduism is older.
No, I know, but I'm saying from the Bible itself, it's. Each story has changed in different ways through different versions to where it's to a point now where people question it more because it's been changed so many times.
That's not a good thing.
No, I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's why I'm saying it's harder for people to understand it and believe it now because it's been changed so many times. So there's no, like if we were back in times when Jesus was alive and we perceived it at that moment of how it was, then it would be more probable. Because we've seen it and we lived through it. But since it's changed over time in history by so many different people, that it made it less credible is what I'm saying.
Okay, so like you're arguing that it is less credible, that we don't really have a good basis for it. that kind of makes me think that we don't have a good basis for believing in this at all.
That's
Because
why
the
I'm
same
saying
thing
it's
could be
hard
true
to.
about the Quran, the same thing could be true about the Book of Mormon, the same thing could be true about the Hindu scriptures.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it makes it less credible and harder for people to believe it now in the times we're in because it's been changed so many times compared to what it used to be.
I appreciate the cap. Thank you so much. So, what is a good reason to believe this then? Because it doesn't seem like we have one. It seems like it's just some choice,
It's a
some random
well, I
selection.
agree
We
with you.
see
It's
all
a
the different
choice.
religions and we go, this one, right? Like it's just some random process. There's no actual basis for evidence, it seems.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's everybody's choice. Like through my perspective and view, I'm not saying you have to believe it or anything like that, but it's everybody's choice to believe what they want, and that's the choice of free will, as it states in the Bible. And like I know your argument earlier, you were saying if the world is perfect and everything like that, then there'd be a perfect God. But since the world's not perfect, then there's not a perfect God. But that's everybody's choice to have their own opinions about. So the way you perceive the Bible is different compared to how somebody else is going to perceive it when they read it.
This isn't about how I'm perceiving the Bible that's different, right? Because that actually creates a bigger question, right? Now you have no basis for saying what's correct in terms of the Bible, as again, everyone's interpretation is of equal value. My interpretation is the same as yours.
Yeah, but I'm saying is when you read something different, or when you read something, you could have there's studies on it. If somebody reads something and they have multiple people read it, not everybody's going to have the same perception of how they perceived it themselves.
So you go based upon consensus, and the way that I actually interpret it is based upon like general concepts that are held in consensus. Like I'm not holding to some fringe notion within my arguments, right? That God has a preference against sin, right? That God is all knowing, all powerful, all good. These are things commonly accepted by Christians.
No, I know that. That's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, like my answer to you is you can't prove it. You have to believe it and you have to have the faith in it. That's what I'm saying.
We can prove it's false.
Well, that's not 100%. There's no studies on it that can say that.
There's a contradiction.
There's a
We don't need a
contradiction, but
study.
there's no 100% fact that that never happened.
No, there's 100% fact that this religion is false because of the contradiction.
No, I'm saying the existence of God. I'm not saying the
Yeah,
religion.
yeah. The existence of this God is 100% false because of the contradiction.
There's no study that can guarantee that.
There doesn't need to be a study. I've gone through the contradiction. We can go through the contradiction again.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is people contradict themselves because they go off of a subject and then it changes, and then they have to answer that in a different way, and then everything contradicts itself if anybody has a good argument with it, is what I'm saying.
That's not true.
Because you have a good argument against everybody coming in here to debate you, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you're wrong or anything. I'm just saying the way you debate against people, you make them contradict themselves over and over because the way you word your questions to them makes them think, and then they don't have the, I guess, general knowledge to be able to come back and debate that, is what I'm saying.
There's no position I've ever seen from anyone who's been able to account for these issues.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you ask them questions once they state something, and then it leads them back into contradicting
I
themselves.
don't make them contradicting themselves. They do that themselves because
Well,
the
that's what
belief
I'm
is
saying.
contradictory.
That's what I'm saying. You give them another question on top of the question, and then it fumbles back to its original question, and it's contradicting, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not like,
like when you're doing a proof by contradiction, you ask multiple questions to establish a basis for you then to show where the contradiction lies. So
yeah,
we have to make clear what someone's position is to lay out the contradiction in front of everyone. They
yeah,
contradict themselves in their statements. It's not me making them contradict themselves or forcing them to contradict themselves or even influencing them to contradict themselves. All I'm doing is showing the contradiction.
yeah, and that's understandable. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not like a super strong religious person, but I do believe there's a higher power. But what I'm saying is, like, everybody has the free will to do what they want. Like, there's going to always be atheists, there's always going to be Satanists, there's always going to be theists, everything like that. Like, that's everybody's choice.
That's actually not expected under your worldview. It's expected that everyone would be Christian under your worldview.
No, but I'm
Because
saying there's
again,
always
it
going to
would
be
be a
that.
sin not to be.
No, I agree. But I'm saying is, no matter what my morals and beliefs are as a Christian, everybody else's is never going to be the same. Everybody's always going to have the free will to choose to believe what they want and do what they want, is what I'm saying. So it's our job through my morals and Christianity to try to create more followers of Christ, but I can't do it to everybody because some people just don't want to. You can't force somebody to. And I understand how what is it? What is the word I'm looking for? How Christians have like a very bad rap on them because of how some Christians treated some people. But I would say I agree with that as well, because there is some Christians that are hypocrites and not everybody's perfect. But myself as a Christian, I don't try to force my religion on people. I don't try to look at people differently and judge them, because it's not my life. And if they want to accept Christ, that's their choice, and I do what I can to help them follow it, but I'm not going to force them to.
Yeah, clearly you're not going to force, right? But like, I want you to also recognize the fact that there are issues with the belief, right? We can go through contradictions, we can lay them out. And if we can lay out contradictions right in front of you and you still don't even judge or question your own belief, right, that shows an internal issue or a subconscious bias that you'd have for the particular religion.
Right.
Right. So like that's a process that deludes people's minds, that literally does not allow for them to see reality, because there's confirmation bias there. They're just looking for things to confirm their own religion because it makes them feel good. And I understand it. But like again, there's huge fucking issues.
No, there's issues with everything, is what I'm saying. But to you can't prove to anybody God exists unless they put themselves forward and put their faith and their dedication to Him to know Him. Is what I'm saying. Like, whether you want to believe that or not, or whether people want to believe that God makes them feel good or whatever, or if it's just this non-existent entity or whatever it is. But to know Christ, you have to dedicate your life and put everything you have into knowing
Thanks,
Him.
Kels. Okay, so like I understand, but like again, if there's a contradiction, I can't put myself to know this thing that doesn't exist.
Well, that's your opinion, is what I'm saying.
It's not an opinion.
Like
No,
you,
I observed a
your opinion
contradiction,
is
and I'm
saying
letting
that
you know that this
He's.
contradiction exists in your own worldview.
No, I'm
I'm telling
saying
you that your own worldview is self-refuting.
your opinion is saying that He doesn't exist through the facts of contradiction of people. That's
That's
why
not
you
my,
don't believe
my
it.
opinion is based upon what exists in reality. Like it is my opinion that I exist. It is also the case that I exist independent of my opinion, but I do have the opinion that I exist. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Like I have the opinion that there's a contradiction here, right? But my opinion is based upon the fact that there's a contradiction. It's not my I didn't determine that there's a contradiction. Like it was already determined by reality. Appreciate the hint art. Thank you. I appreciate Kels.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying to try to understand the subject more that you're debating about, you would have to yourself put your faith and believe in all that and go through the Bible, everything like that, understand it and create a relationship with God. Like, that's how I did it. Like, I was a non-believer for plenty of years, and then I had lost my son in a car accident, and I didn't know what to do.
Sorry to hear
I
that.
went to religion, and whether people want to say God helps you or not, or if it's just this feeling of feeling good or whatever, the way that I perceived it and the way I dedicated myself in life to that, it's helped me through the years. So I'm just saying that's my own experience with it, which not everybody has that. And at the same time, I can't force anybody to do that or force any to believe what they want. So I'm just saying it's all through you, and it's only through you. Nobody can, like they say, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink.
I don't understand why you think that you're doing that. Like I really don't think that I don't understand. I don't know why Christians say that all the time.
No, I'm just saying, like, you can give somebody all the tools what they need to build a relationship with God, but you can't make them do it. That's their own choice.
Yeah, I understand that, but why do you think that you're the one doing that? Right? Like why do you think that you're leading us to the water?
No, I'm not
Because
saying
the
I'm
water
leading
is
you
like
guys.
what you think the truth is.
No, I'm not leading you
Appreciate the
guys.
galaxy.
I'm
Thank
just
you so
saying
much.
from people, like, if people want to come to me and ask me about my beliefs in God and everything like that, I'm going to give them my experiences, and that's the tools for them, and they do with that what they want, is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not going to force them to go, and I'm not going to be calling them and say,
I know you keep saying that. I've heard that a million times. Trust me. I get that you're not going to force, right? I get it. I really get it, man. But like, I think what you're trying to show with that analogy is that you're trying to show that the water is like the truth. You're trying to get them to drink the water or to find the truth, but they're not willing to do that, right? And I'm saying that that doesn't make any sense, right? Because you're not showing any truth. You're just saying, believe this, bro. Trust me, bro.
no, I'm not even saying trust me. I'm just saying I just give them the tools, and the way they perceive it or whatever, they do what they want with that. And if they want to come back and ask more, then I will give
Yeah,
them
but
more.
you're not showing us any process to be able to say that this belief is better than others. You're just saying this is the belief. That's it.
Well, I'm saying that's my belief. I'm not saying this is the belief.
Appreciate the hand art. Thank you. Yeah,
But
but like the
there's
thing is,
multiple
why do we
religions
hold
and
this
stuff like
belief?
that. Is what
What's up?
there's multiple religions. Everybody's gonna believe in their religion. I'm just
You just muted yourself, by the way.
I'm just
Oh, you got a call, man.
I had got
You got a call. Send a guest request back, man. Send a guest request back, and I'll accept you right back in, man. You got a call. Keep tapping that screen, everyone. Let's try to get to 500,000 likes. If you want to help get out to more people, share the live, everyone. Let's try to get to 500 shares, y'all. I appreciate that, Mustache. Thank you so much. Does anyone remember his name, y'all? I'm trying to find it. I think I found it. It's G. I found it.
yeah. Sorry,
Yeah, what were you saying?
I kind of lost track because I was trying to figure out what was going on. What did I
Sure.
what I said last?
I think that you were just referencing like
Oh, I was
I think
saying
that you were
there's
just
multiple
go ahead.
religions. Each
Yeah,
religion's
like
gonna
multiple
believe in what they
religions.
want. I'm just explaining my religion and my beliefs. Like I can't, and I understand like it even goes even deeper than this because it goes into politics through my religion like that. Like my religion and the morals from mine are gonna affect other people that don't believe, like LGBTQ and stuff like that. Like our choices that we vote are gonna go against them, and it's gonna affect their lives. Just like vice versa, if we get a Democrat in office that goes against our morals and beliefs, it affects our lives. Is what I'm saying too. So I mean, there's a never ending battle with this. It's always going to go on and then until the world comes to an end or whatever happens. That's just what it's going to be.
I think there are clearly different impacts there that we could relate to in terms of the different communities, right? But like when it relates to this, again, there isn't a justification for these religious beliefs, and there are actually contradictions we can outline. So if we can outline contradictions, show y'all how it's false. Appreciate the cap. Thank you so much. Well, then why would we let it influence our politics?
Because that's how it's been for ages.
Hmm?
Because that's how it's been for ages. Like
Just
religious
because it's been that way doesn't mean it should be that way. It was for many thousands of years. We thought the Earth was flat. Does that mean we should think that the Earth is flat?
well, it's not flat.
Okay, well, yeah, this God doesn't exist because of the contradiction.
Well, I'm saying the contradictions aren't facts. You
Yeah,
can't
they are.
just because people contradict themselves because they're not knowledgeable enough to debate somebody on religion, just because they contradicted themselves, doesn't mean that that's the fact that it's not real. People
Yeah,
contradict
it's
themselves
wrong.
all the
Yeah, if
time.
there's a contradiction, it is a fact that it's wrong.
Yeah, that it's. I would say the contradiction of people contradicting themselves on religious views in a debate isn't necessarily always 100% factual. It's just because they don't have the knowledge to debate somebody.
Okay, so you're just saying that like there's not actually a contradiction with Christianity. There, it just happens to be the case that we sound like we're contradicting ourselves because we don't understand it.
Yeah, I would say people
Okay,
that join in
so
here
then
and
who
try
does
to
understand it? No one.
no, I'm not saying I understand it 100% fully either. It's my belief, is what I'm saying. Like, I can explain this all I want and my morals and views and religious views, but eventually I'm going to get to a point to where somebody's going to ask me a question. And I might contradict myself too because I'm not 100% knowledgeable of the religion. I just barely started my religion maybe 5 years back. So I'm saying anybody in an argument can contradict themselves no matter what, whether they know what they want to say, but they're trying to debate so fast that they fumble it and they contradict themselves. It just doesn't mean that that was the fact right there, that that doesn't exist.
No, it does. It does mean that this God doesn't exist because there's a contradiction. Like what this isn't just with your worldview. This isn't just with what you said. Appreciate the hand art. Thank you so much. This is with the Christian religion.
That's what I'm saying. So like if you were to get into a debate, I don't know if there would ever be a very knowledgeable preacher or pastor that's gotten on here. He would have a very good debate to you rather than myself, is what I'm saying. Like somebody that knows it inside and out, done it for years, has the whole perception of it, and can actually argue this topic, I think that would be a good debate. But for me, I'm just going off my few years of belief and views and experiences. So I'm not saying I have the knowledge to debate you on this either. That's why I just joined just to explain that. But if you were to go against somebody who has it to a T, I think it would be a good debate.
Sure. Do you have anything else you want to add or talk about?
No, that's it, man.
Appreciate it coming on, man. Yo, thank you for the hat mustache. I appreciate it, Bree. Thank you so much. Tap that screen, everyone. Let's try to 500,000 likes. If you want to help get out to more people, keep sharing the live, everyone. Let's try to get to 1,000 shares. Again, only send a guest request if you do disagree. We are just looking for some debates, everyone. Keep tapping that screen in the meantime, everyone. Holly, thank you so much for the galaxy. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Holly. Yo, what's up? How old are you? Hello?
Hello? Yeah,
Yeah. How old are you?
45.
For sure. Do you believe in God?
I do.
Why so?
Okay, before we get to that point, let me ask you, do you believe that everything that exists today came from somewhere, including the universe, was
Um,
created by some supernatural power, including the universe?
I don't know where the universe came from necessarily speaking, right? But it could come from something that is naturalistic.
Okay. So everything became from somewhere. So you agree with me on that?
That could be the case, right? I don't know where everything came from.
Okay, you don't know where everything came from. I know I came from my mama's belly.
You know it came from what?
I came from my mother's belly, stomach.
Oh, I'm talking about the universe. Like, do you think that the universe resulted from like a god?
Yeah, the universe must have resulted from a supernatural power. Let's not use the word God for now.
Wait, so do you not believe in the Abrahamic religions?
Well, I believe in Christianity. I'm a Christian, okay.
Okay, so you
But
do believe in God.
we have to elaborate. We have to elaborate on where creation came from before we get to believing in the actual God that we believe in. So to every beginning, there's a beginner. Do you believe that?
Sure. There's necessarily a beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah, given that there's a beginning, sure, right. But like, I don't think that there's a evidence to believe that it's some sort of god, right? I think that it could very well be
Yeah.
naturalistic.
I know. That's your topic sentence for now. Okay, that there's no God. Uh, but I want to know if you believe that everything begins from somewhere, and if it begins from somewhere, there should be a beginner.
Yeah, so that doesn't necessarily imply that there needs to necessarily be like an entity like or a mind that begins it, right? It can be the case that it can come about naturally, right? Like there could
Naturally.
be, yeah, like there could be a beginning to when Mount Everest started arising, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that the explanation for that was, or actually, no, I can ask this question. There could be a beginning of rain, but that doesn't mean that the rain was had to have like a person that began it, right? It could be a naturalistic process.
A natural process. Okay. Okay, I get your point on that. But I believe that everything begins from somewhere. If everything begins from somewhere, there should be a beginner, somebody that started it.
Okay, you keep saying the same thing. Is I don't know if there's anything we can get past this point with. I kind of just responded to it.
Okay. So now Christians believe that God created heaven and earth and the universe. We Christians, that's what we believe. He's the beginner of heaven and earth.
Yeah,
Because
how do you know that it was God? How do you know that God did that?
but Bible said that. Okay, Bible said it. Bible described how God created heaven and earth. And scientists are beginning to believe that there is a supernatural being that is responsible for the existence of heaven and earth.
So you say you believe it. Just because you believe it doesn't mean it's true.
Okay, yeah, I believe, you're right about that. But scientists now beginning to accept the fact that there is a supernatural being that is responsible for the.
No, that's not true. Where does science say that?
So scientists don't believe that there is a supernatural being that is responsible for the creation of heaven and earth.
No,
Hmm.
that's empirically unverifiable.
So you're trying to tell me that we just came from nowhere as human beings?
I'm saying that we don't know. That science wouldn't be able to make a claim about like what happened prior to the universe's existence because it's not empirically verifiable.
Or it's not verifiable?
Hmm.
Okay, let's take for example. Anyway, I'll make more research on this, but I believe that there is a supernatural being that is responsible for heaven and earth, and that supernatural being is God. So I'll make research and I will come back on this topic. Okay?
For sure. Appreciate you coming
Yeah,
on, man. Thank you
you
so much.
can
Have a good
drop
day,
me
bro.
for now. All right.
All right, we're gonna go on to the next person. Only send a guest request if you disagree. Keep tapping that screen, everyone. Let's try to get to 500,000 likes. It will help get out to more people. Keep tapping that screen, everyone. We're gonna go on to the next person. Only send a guest request if you disagree, y'all. We are just looking for some debates, everyone. Yo, what's up? How old are you?
What is up? I'm 29.
For sure. Do you believe in God?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
What God?
Yeshua, Yahweh, Jesus Christ,
How do you know they
Holy
exist?
Spirit. Personal experiences and just really I've had multiple spiritual experiences, and then once I placed my faith in Jesus Christ and started adhering to his will instead of mine, was like I would say it was supernatural healing, and it's been the thing that I've been looking for my entire life to heal my anxiety and depression and fear and just lack of confidence, to be honest. So that's
Yeah, so
why I believe
personal
that.
experience. So, like, you're saying you had a spiritual experience with God?
Yeah, multiple.
Okay, so how do you accept the conclusions formed from your spiritual experience, but you don't accept the conclusions formed from the spiritual experience of the of Prophet Muhammad with the angel Gabriel in terms of dictating the Quran? Because those beliefs from the dictation of the Quran would contradict your beliefs in Christianity.
Why do I believe in Jesus Christ instead of it being like Muhammad or like the angel
No,
Gabriel?
why do you accept the conclusions formed from the spiritual experiences that you've had with Jesus rather than the experiences that say Prophet Muhammad has had with the angel Gabriel? Like the conclusions formed from
Oh,
those
I'm
experiences.
not discrediting anybody else's spiritual
You have to. You
experiences.
actually have to because there's a contradiction between their belief and
I
yours.
believe that if we were to get into that, I kind of want to be more into like the main topic, prove that God exists. But
This is a part of that. This is
why
exactly what
does
I'm
it
asking you to do.
discredit? Why does it discredit any?
You muted yourself. Did you get a call? Hello?
You muted yourself. Did you get a
Oh,
call?
he got a call.
Oh, hold up.
Jake, send a guest request back, bro. You got a call. Send a guest request back. In the meantime, everyone, tap that fuck out of the screen, everyone. Let's try to get to 500,000 likes. If you like this type of content, follow me if you're ready. I go live literally every single day for at least 6 hours, everyone. Someone said I was an emotionless robot in the chat. Very true, very true. I'm just AI. Appreciate the galaxy. Thank you so much, Max. I appreciate it. Thank you for the hentar. I appreciate it. Wow, thank you. By the way, everyone, I just got the Meta sunglasses, the Ray-Bans, Meta Ray-Bans. I got those, and they're coming by like the 20 something. So I'm gonna have to show y'all whenever I get them. I might do a live with them. That'd be fucking crazy. Does anyone remember that person's name? I actually don't remember their name. It was Jake Clarity, right? I got it. I think I got it. Lamau, why? Because they're so cool.
Yo, sorry about that.
Yeah, so say what you're saying.
Okay, so why does it? So I believe that according to my view through what like biblical scripture would say, it would be that like Satan disguises himself as an angel of light, right? So he can have like people can have like different spiritual experiences, but that doesn't constitute it being like the true God. Like people could people do witchcraft, people do like
It doesn't
Ouija
justify the
boards.
conclusions they form from this experience. So how do we know how to accept your conclusions formed from your experience, but not to accept their conclusions formed from their experience?
Well, just because I believe it doesn't make it true, right? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so just because, yeah, clearly, just because I believe something absolutely doesn't make it true. But whether I believe it or you believe it or not, whether we either of us believe it or not, it still remains true outside of our beliefs. So that's not just because I believe something doesn't make it true. Absolutely. Like you could say that the sky is green, but that
No,
doesn't
no, no, we
like,
understand. We understand. So, like, again, so what's the reason as to why I should accept your conclusions, but not the conclusions of Prophet Muhammad?
because of what it says in the Bible that there would be false prophets and people who come and preaching like false messages. I mean, just keep
So
it simple.
you have faith in the Bible.
Yes, I do.
So there's no difference between these beliefs. It's just that you choose to believe in one. Okay,
Well,
so if
there's
it's that
differences
there's
in
no
what
difference
there's-
between these
there's
beliefs and you just
differences.
choose to believe in one than the other, it's just as justified for them to believe in that religion as you are to believe in this one. I appreciate the hand art. Thank you so much. Like, and if it's just based upon faith, well, then can you tell me one belief you can have that is not belief you cannot have by using the standard of faith?
One belief that I can not have based
By
upon
using the standard of
this
faith.
Standard of faith. Let's see, man. What I don't even fully understand that question. Like, what's something?
I can have any belief. So there is nothing that I cannot believe, right? I can believe in anything. I could believe that when I die, I'm going to be Ben 10. I'm going to have an Omnitrix.
Yeah. But would that make it true?
Exactly. How do we
Absolutely
know it's true?
not. Yeah. How do we know
Faith
it's true?
doesn't give you a process to know it's true. It's just something that you decide to believe in with absolutely no evidence.
Well, the Bible I would say, would be evidence, and yeah.
What in the
I
Bible
would
is
look into
evidence
all the other
particularly?
religions. Why would say that again? I'm sorry.
What in the Bible is evidence particularly?
So there's not going to be like full blown like archaeological like evidence that you could look to, but what in the Bible is evidence is just I don't clearly that's not gonna if it's evidence according to your standard of what evidence would be, it would be outside of your standard of what evidence would be constituted to like make something true, right? So it's like uh how can we prove anything outside of like the scientific method in that like worldview? Like it's like, but just because I can't see it doesn't mean it's like would mean that it's like not true. It's kind of.
I'm asking, how do we differentiate between these two claims? Appreciate the cap, thank you. And it doesn't seem like we're giving me a process to do so.
How do we differentiate between one religion or the other?
Yeah, no,
Well, it
one
would
claim and the other claim. You're both
that, like-
claiming that you had an experience with God, a revelation from God. If you're both claiming that you had a revelation from God, how do I know which revelation is true and which revelation is false, given that only one could be true? Because again, it is the case that both of these religions contradict each other.
Well, Jesus Christ is saying that he is the way, the life, and the truth, and no one comes to the Father except through him would be the
Actually, that claim can be compatible with Islam as again, particularly like he's a prophet in Islam, right? And that's true under Islam.
Yeah, so you have to choose
that you go to
which
God
one
by prophets.
would be the correct religion, right? So how would we figure
you said that you were
out?
using personal experience to justify your particular religion. And I again asked you the question I showed you that you don't have the ability to justify your personal experience over any other personal experience insofar as that we should accept your particular religion. That's the claim that I'm just referencing.
Yeah, it would just be no, I don't have like any full proof beyond like what The Bible says, dude. I mean, I would just have to back to the Bible, and it's whether you believe it or not. And
See,
I
you
mean,
see, I was
that's
just like whether or not you believe it. And again, that's just as justified as me believing that when I die,
no,
I'm
but
going to
just because I
be
believe it doesn't mean
Ben
that
10.
it's true. Yes, no,
Appreciate the
just
Cameron.
because
Thank you so much. Appreciate the subscription. So again,
just
it's
because,
just as justified as me believing that when I die, I'm going to be Ben 10 and have an Omnitrix.
but
Right? And
would
you don't
that
see that
be
to be
like
absurd.
but
You don't see that to be
would
absurd.
that be the ultimate truth? Like, I mean, how can we? I
I can
mean,
say the same thing to your point. How do you know that it's true? Again, you don't know that it's true. You just decide to believe it. The same
because
way
of what
I
it
could just
says in the
decide to believe that
Bible,
I'm going to be Ben 10.
because of what it says in the Bible.
Okay, I could say
It
because I wrote
claims
down
to
something
be
in a
the
book and it says
one.
this.
It could
Appreciate
be
the Galaxy. Thank you so much, Pale
the
Horse.
it claims to be the truth, and I mean, there's many different like reasons why. It was like, what makes Christianity unique beyond all the other religions and beliefs, and it would be like one one thing that makes it unique is that all other religions are a way of humans' effort to reach God. But in the case of Christianity, it's God reaching to humans to say, hey, like, if you, like, this is my sign. If you trust in me and place your faith in me, then you like this, like, you will be saved. Like, that's the whole like thing. It's like every other, it's by faith, and all the other belief. You're not working your way to salvation or nirvana or like enlightenment.
No, I
You're
understand what your
trust.
worldview
It
is. You're just
takes
saying
trust.
you got to trust me, bro.
Yeah, 'cause that's exactly what God is saying, dude.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like, you
So
gotta
when
trust.
someone tells you like a claim, oh, this drug works, and you ask them, how do you know? And they say, trust me, bro. Right? Is that good? Is that
Yeah,
good reason to believe?
absolutely not in that
Thank you for
case.
the hand. I appreciate it. Thank you. So why are we special pleading for God here, saying that this is good enough reason to believe in a God?
Why are we special?
Yeah,
Because I
we're
mean,
just pleading in this special circumstance. Appreciate the handout. Thank you so much. That this particular rule, right, can apply.
it just takes it, dude. That's so why because it claims to be the truth. That other than that, like that's the reason for why it would be out of all the other religions, and some other religions would claim to be the truth as well, but it's like you got to figure out which one. And to me, Christianity makes the most sense. That's the one that I've had, which doesn't constitute the reason for it being true, but the one that I have had spiritual experiences through, and through prayer and faith, and like so.
So Marvel movies make more sense than like Ben 10, right? Or like Pokemon. Do you think so? Or like movies about the Revolutionary War.
No, because
Or
we're talking about
okay, so
cartoons
just
here.
because one
We're
thing
talking
makes
about
more
real life.
sense
We're
than
talking
another
about
to
real
you,
life. We're talking about real life here. What's that?
here. Let me clarify. Just because one story makes more sense to you than another one, like it might be the case that something I don't know, the Titanic story makes more sense to you
No,
than
it's
like
not
Ben
because it
10,
makes. It's not
right?
because it
But
makes
that
more
doesn't
sense.
mean that
Because
necessarily it's an accurate story.
it claims to be the truth, the ultimate truth, and like so there's nothing outside of that that would constitute why any other belief would be invalid. Like, it's that it claims Jesus Christ claimed himself to be
Yeah, there are many
the
claims,
truth.
right, about gods. I appreciate the sunglasses. Thank you so much. There were many claimed messiahs at that particular time period. Like Jesus
Yeah,
wasn't the only one. You know that, right?
yeah. Like there's
There
Muhammad,
were
but
other messiahs that were even crucified.
yeah, and there's what dude, yeah. Outside of just like our understanding, there's not gonna like I know I've heard these other people say it 50 times. There's not gonna be any proof according to like what you would constitute as being proof. It's gotta be according to God, right? Which would make it it makes sense to me that in that way that it like it being the
No, I don't think trust me, bro is
outside
good
of
enough reason.
us being like we.
I don't think a trust me, bro is good enough reason. We wouldn't apply that in any other scenario. Right? Why do we apply it here? Right?
Because
We
it's
want to
not
say it because it
according
makes us feel good that God exists, right?
according
But we wouldn't do that in any other scenario.
yeah, and like it's not according for us and our understanding and our beliefs to it's a humbling thing, man. Like you surrender yourself to the creator of the universe, and where on the other hand
You don't know it to be the
are
creator of the
claiming
universe. You don't know if this exists, right? How do you know that you're surrendering yourself to this particular entity if you don't even know it exists?
because I've experienced God's presence and do like on a pretty regular basis
What does it feel like to be in God's
through
presence?
through prayer. Really like peace beyond my understanding, like greater than any like experience that I've had in any other like spiritual belief or practice that I've tried. Like I've tried like transcendental meditation. I've tried witchcraft at one point. I've looked through like all these different beliefs, and I've literally searched for peace my entire life and tried to get rid of my anxiety and depression. And this was the surrendering to God and repenting, placing my faith in Jesus, and then confessing that He is Lord has been the
Don't you think that you just
single
found a good coping mechanism?
greatest thing. No, dude, because I would say that it's like supernatural. Like it's I would absolutely
It
say
sounds like, thank you for the sunglasses. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It sounds like you're relying upon a crutch, right? Or like a coping mechanism. That's not necessarily a bad thing, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's true, right? And that doesn't mean it's accurate.
that doesn't mean that it's not true either.
Again, I would give contradictions to show it's not true.
So, can I ask you what are your beliefs? Are you atheist, agnostic?
I'm an agnostic atheist. It means I don't know and I don't believe.
Okay.
Appreciate the pale horse. Thank you for the subscription. I appreciate it. The I don't know is in reference to things in which we don't have contradictions, right? For your particular belief, I know that doesn't exist because there's a
Yeah,
contradiction.
so there's a lot of things that would seem to be contradictions in the Bible, but when you actually look into it, there's reasons for these things, dude. Like why would God say do not kill anyone and then on the other hand have these have a flood that would kill off people and like there's reasons for these things and the ultimate thing would be like that God created this world and this universe for us because He loves us and He wants to get to know us and He wants the best for us. And these things in the Bible, absolutely agree, seem wild and crazy at first glance, but if you look into it, there's absolutely so many reasons out there. You can just search, just go like Google, and I mean I'm sure you probably do, like, but there's reasons, and a lot of them would be beyond our understanding, right? It would be God says, trust me, my plan is for your greater good. And we don't maybe absolutely can't understand and fully understand God's plan, but it is for the greater good. And he literally wants to get
That's
to know us
literally
on
a trust me, bro. Like
on a
if I do
personal
something,
level.
if I do something like say flood the entire planet and kill everyone, and then say trust me, bro, I'm doing what's best for you, are you gonna believe me?
If you did, no. But you're not God.
Okay, but what's the distinction? I flooded everyone on the planet, so apparently I
God's
do have those
plan is
powers.
sovereign and ultimately good and for
No. I have those powers, right? I flooded the entire planet, right? Everyone's not left. You're the only person left, like Noah. Okay, would you believe that I'm doing it for the greater good?
I mean, in the case of, would I believe?
Trust
that you
me,
were
bro. I'm doing it for the greater good. Do you believe?
Well, if he had been like protecting me and created me and been like protecting me my entire life, and then he says, "Hey, do this. Trust me, bro." And he does give reason for it being like that. The entire world that was full blown wicked and evil.
Yeah, if they
like,
said that about the world we exist in now, would you? And he flooded everyone. Everyone else is gone. So it'll just me and you. That's it. Okay. I've been protecting you your whole life, right? In your own mind. Do you believe me? Appreciate the crown. Thank you.
Your question is, would I right now, this day and age? Yeah, that's crazy, dude. Absolutely. Think about being in Noah's position. Absolutely wild. But what happened out of that? Look at where we are now as a species, as compared to what the world would have become, which probably would have ended up like being way worse than what it was.
So would you believe him?
Would I believe him?
Would you believe me?
Now, if I had full-blown evidence and proof that God was coming, and I knew for a fact, and God revealed himself in front of me, he said, "I'm the creator of the universe."
Wait, you wouldn't believe until God gave you evidence?
Like he has.
Wait. So God needs to give you
Dad,
evidence for you to
are
believe.
gonna let me
Okay.
answer?
Boom. Wait. Jake, you literally just ran right into the point. Like that was exact. I want to say this because you just literally came to the very point we're asking for. We need evidence. We need evidence to justify they exist for us to trust.
There is, I mean, the evidence is the way that it's been presented to you, which is through the Bible, and if it's up to you.
No, but you just asked for more
to-
sufficient evidence than the Bible. You already have the Bible. You just asked for more sufficient evidence than the Bible.
I'm not asking for more sufficient evidence. I've been given it since I've
you
placed
just
my
did.
faith in Jesus. I've absolutely been given substantial evidence.
You've been given substantial evidence against its existence.
What's up?
You've been given substantial evidence against his existence.
I have been given substantial evidence against his existence. Okay, can you prove to me right now with 100% certainty that God does not exist?
Yes. Yeah. So do you believe God has free will?
That's not substantial evidence, bro.
I'm asking you the question so I can show you. I haven't done it yet, dude. Holy
I'm
fuck,
sorry,
dude.
man.
You know what proof by contradiction is?
I'm just messing
we have to
around,
get
dude.
to your
I'm just
view.
messing around, dude. I'm sorry. Okay, do I say that again?
Do you think God has free will?
Do I think that God has free will?
Yeah.
Does God have free will? Yes.
Can God do evil?
Can God do evil? No, because ultimately his plan is sovereign, is good.
So he can't do evil. So you can have free will and not have the ability to do evil?
If you're God.
Okay. So if you can have free why can't humans do that if they have the same characteristics?
Why can't humans have free will?
And not be able to do evil? Because that's the same thing God does.
Humans do have free will and they absolutely do evil.
No, I'm saying have free will and not have the ability to do evil. Because you just said that God has free will and doesn't have the ability to do evil. So if that's logically possible, well, then it will also be logically possible amongst humans, as God can actualize any logically possible world.
I'm sorry. I'm kind of lost here. So why would it for human beings to have free will? Why would we not be able to do evil? Is your question?
No, I'm saying, can humans exist with free will and not have the ability to do evil in the same way that God, you said, has free will and doesn't have the ability to do evil? Can that same thing be true for humans?
No, because we're not God.
What about us not being God means that we can't have this characteristic?
Dude, I'm so lost. I'm so sorry. What? So,
What about us not being God means that we can't do this? Because you said because we're not God, that means we can't do this.
because we're not God, we can't perform evil.
And have free will. Like, again, the idea that you cannot do evil and you have free will.
That doesn't make any sense because we can do evil and have free will.
I'm not saying what we have right now. I'm saying, can it be the case that this happens? Can it be the case that you have free will and that there is no evil?
Could that be the case that we I don't think that I don't think that we are God, that we are perfect so that we would be able to like
Can God make us perfect?
could God make us perfect? Yeah, he could do anything.
He can. Okay, so if he can do anything, then he can make us have free will in a scenario in which we would not do evil.
Yeah, but that's not how what he has chosen to do, and you're like trying to.
Okay, so both of these
explain.
scenarios have free will, right?
Yeah, both scenarios.
There's a scenario where God has free will. I mean, humans have free will and there's evil, and there's a scenario where humans have free will and there's no evil. Given that we exist in the world in which there's evil, right? Wouldn't that tell us that God prefers evil over no evil, all else constant, as there's free will in both scenarios?
No.
What do you dispute there?
We can like we literally like because we don't understand fully God's will. I mean, yeah, God could absolutely just be like could have made this like perfect, but that's what heaven is like.
Oh, so why couldn't God just have put us in heaven?
Because we chose to disobey him.
But if we were perfect, we wouldn't disobey him, as disobeying him is bad and would be a flaw.
We're not perfect. Exactly.
A God could have made us perfect. Actually, it would be expected of God to make us perfect, but that's a separate argument.
Yeah, no, God literally could have made things way different, but we're not.
Let me ask you this question: Could I have not sinned today?
I don't. That's a good. Could you have not sinned today? Let's see. I mean, you could have done your best and tried to, but most days, like every human being, sins.
So I have the ability.
Yeah, you have the ability to
not sin. To not sin.
Yeah, you have the ability to not.
Okay, if I ask you that question every single day of my life, would it be true that I have the ability to not sin?
Yeah, I mean, but we're
okay.
That's
so
not
then,
possible.
Appreciate the hint, Art. It's not possible.
It's absolutely not possible for us.
So if it's not possible for me to do the right thing and to not sin, then I don't have free will.
Yeah, you do. Are you?
So I do have the possibility to do the right thing and to not sin.
Yeah, you. I mean, well, I don't think that any human being. The whole point is like, no, I don't think that any human being could ever be perfect. That's the entire thing is like we're.
So I don't have free will.
You have free will.
I do have free will. So if I have free will, I have the ability to do the right thing.
Yeah. But
okay, so if I have the ability to do the right thing,
that's the whole thing that
let's think about it this way.
To
Let's think about it this way. God is all-knowing, right?
Yes.
Which means that God sees every possible thing that could have happened.
Yeah, and so did
so
he
God
do that,
sees the possible world where in every single scenario I chose to do the right thing freely. Right? And the same thing would be true with every other human on the planet. It might be 0.0000100 million zeros and then a 1% possible, right? But it still is the case that at least one of these worlds, it would be this way, right? So if it is the case that there's a world in which we freely did the good thing in every single scenario, and God is comparing that to the world we exist in, right? Both of these worlds have free will, right? One of them has sin and the other one does not. So all else constant, i.e. there's free will in both scenarios, God would say, I want no sin over there being sin. God would prefer a world without child sex trafficking, without the Holocaust, without, actually, I don't know about without slavery. He literally supports slavery in the Old Testament. All of these things, right, over a world in which it is this way, right? So it is the case that since we exist in a world where this exists, and it doesn't have to exist, that means that your God does not exist. As again, it would be expected that we would exist in a world in which there would not be sin. Because again,
that doesn't
God can
make-
achieve that world without, even with there being free will. Does that make sense?
That does not disprove God at all.
It literally does. It is absolutely a contradiction because you end with a statement that God prefers sin, right? So if God prefers sin, it says that God has a preference for a world in which God has a preference against, which is a
God does
contradiction.
not prefer sin at all.
Yeah, no. Okay, so if God doesn't prefer sin, then we would exist in a world in which there is not sin. That's my point. Again, free will can still be compatible with an idea in which there's not sin.
We would exist in a world where there's no sin. Well, that would be according to your plan. You're trying to understand fully. You're trying to. It seems like you're trying to fully understand like God's plan and the reasoning behind everything that is happening, which is not possible. We're never going to fully understand why everything happens, but we can get some sort of grasp on why things are the way that they are.
No, you'd have to make an argument that sin and the Holocaust and all these bad things are logically necessary. So you'd have to argue that there would be a contradiction of every other possible reality in which these events did not occur. And there isn't a contradiction. Therefore, clearly speaking, it would indicate that this God does not exist. Because again, you have failed to establish the logical necessity of sin in this scenario.
You're not inserting free will into that scenario.
No, there is free will. Again, Jake, I literally gave you a basis for this multiple times. I established that there's free will in both scenarios. I established that they have the ability to choose. I literally asked you so many questions to establish that that was already true. There's no way that you can say that, oh my gosh, you just don't have free will. Oh my gosh, you're just making robots. No, they have free will. Again, it's just one of the expressions of free will. The same way that I could have expressed my free will to have Cocoa Pebbles rather than having fucking Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And God sees both of those realities. Both those realities I determined based upon my own free will. Right? It just is the case that God sees all those different worlds. Again, all of them have free will.
Yeah, so how is this disproving God at all?
Because it ends with a statement that God would prefer sin. Because if you exist in this world and God is all good, that means God prefers this world to all other worlds. Because God is all good and all knowing and all powerful, which means he knows all the best worlds. And he knows how to actualize them. And God would pick the most preferred world as he's all good.
The whole thing is of the Bible is that God does not prefer sin, which is
That's exactly what I'm saying. Which is exactly why this results in a contradiction. Because it would be making the claim that God would be preferring something that God has a preference against. Which is a contradiction. That's my point.
You're trying to again. It seems you're trying to fully understand reality, and you're trying to say like, if God, like, why didn't God like do this way? That doesn't disprove God at all.
No.
Yes,
I'm saying
God
that
does
God,
not-
it would have been entailed that God would have done it a different way.
Which is basically exactly like what all like Christians are doing, is trying our best to do it God's way.
We're trying to do it. Yeah, sure, you could say that. But again, that's not responding to my point. Again, this still results in a contradiction.
You could, I mean, it doesn't.
I'm not just saying it does. It literally does. It literally does result in a contradiction.
It doesn't result in a contradiction.
Yes, it does,
Okay.
Jake. It literally does.
It's resulting in you trying to say that like that's not a contradiction. Like you're
It
trying
is.
to fully understand God's sovereign will and
What do
why
you mean fully under?
everything is the way that it is.
Yeah, we're saying that we know God has particular characteristics because we can determine that based upon the Bible, based upon things that have already been established. If we know what to expect given these particular characteristics that it's already been established, we can then apply that. That's all I'm doing here. I'm applying concepts that have already been agreed upon amongst Christians.
Yeah, I don't think that just because God didn't create a world, what he did, it's in heaven. That's literally what heaven is no suffering, no like
Appreciate the mic check. Thank you
evil,
so much.
no evil at all. And so it's like,
Again, we could freely never do evil. That is my point. Is that we'd be expected to be in that world. Why would God put us through unnecessary suffering? Because it would be purposeless.
I don't understand. I don't, and neither do you. Why is there suffering?
There is no way to understand if it's unnecessary because it is logically entailed that God would engage in
It's
the behavior that would
unnecessary.
lead to a better world because it's literally entailed given the fact that God is all good. Appreciate the boiling culture and thank you so much. You can't say there's a more preferable world when God is all good, all knowing, and all powerful.
Yeah, dude. I just that doesn't like what like God absolutely did things his own way and not your way, and that's basically
I'm not saying to do it my way. I don't care about a lot of the sins that are mentioned by God. I don't care about sex before marriage. I think it's okay to do that. I don't care about lying in specific circumstances. Like I'll lie in jokes, which is not bad because I clarify it. I also think it's not wrong for me to like lie to save someone's life, right? I can talk about many things that I don't care about in terms of the Bible, but I'm saying this is what God himself cares about.
yeah, God himself has like lined out and established a um in the Bible a way for human beings to be reconciled to him so that we can each day try to be a better person every single day. And I mean, dude, just the whole Bible can be summed up literally just by 2 commandments, which is love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and then love your neighbor as yourself, and like humble ourselves like fully. I mean, the Bible is one of the greatest books teaching how
Hey
to
man,
be
I just want to relate to like
a good person.
I just want to relate back to like what your view is, man. Back to the
Back to what
contradiction. Like why do you think it's not a contradiction?
that we're not in a perfect world.
No, that's not what I brought up. In terms of the scenario, well, I guess you could see it as a perfect world. That we're not in a better world than we are now. That's the only. I could literally, even if it is the case that there's a world where, say, one child didn't die and didn't get tortured, right? Then it would be a better world than we currently exist in, and that would be expected for God to create, right?
I mean, according to you, yes, but that's the whole thing. Is it's either according to God or it's according to you. According to us, it's either we are the greatest authority in the world or God is, and it's like how do we establish? I mean, government can't be the greatest authority. You can't be the one person to say like everybody do that. Like we can't even as a society agree upon what is good and bad in a objective stance, and so it really does just come back to like who is the ultimate authority, who knows best, who is the one who
You don't know it to be God, right? But the ultimate authority is just going to be like what our society ends up determining, and that's in a descriptive sense, not in like a what's justified. I would determine what's justified under my own view, right? Like what I think is permissible action. That's going to be determined by like my mental state under my own view.
yeah
Other people
according
will
to
determine
you.
what's preferable to them under their own views. I don't know
Then
how
why
that
can't
responds and
we
says
as
that this
I
isn't a
mean it's
contradiction Can you just clarify why you think it's not a contradiction? Because I think we laid it out very clearly.
Can you say the contradiction again? Because Can you say it one more time?
Yeah. So God can see every logically possible world, every possible world that could exist, right? And there is a possible world where there is free will and no sin. Do we already have that established?
Yes.
Or do I need to establish that?
Yeah. Okay. So God could have created
there is a
world.
possible world where there's free will and no sin. Do you agree?
There could have. Yes. There could. Yes.
Okay. So if there's a possible world, God is all knowing, all powerful, and all good. That means that God can actualize that world, right? Sees the world to actualize it, and then would actualize that because he's all good. So it is the case that we would expect to be in this world, right, where there's free will and no sin, rather than a world where there's free will and sin. Because both of these worlds have free will, right? And God has a preference against sin, right? So that would tell us that God would select the world in which there is no sin over the world in which there is sin. Given that we exist in the world in which there is sin, appreciate the Lucy Lama, thank you so much. You would end with a statement that says, God prefers sin over no sin, which would be saying that God prefers a world in which God has a preference against, which is a contradiction.
That doesn't prove that there is no God. That doesn't prove that there is no God.
It literally does. That's a contradiction. It proves that your God is not existent.
It does not prove anything.
Can you tell me what you dispute? Tell me what you dispute with what I just said.
Because you're making this like hypothetical situation where it could. That's literally what God is trying to do, is establish a world, a kingdom where we do not sin.
Can you tell me what's the issue with what I just... No, tell me what's the issue with my argument. Tell me.
What the issue with your argument is that that's not what God has chosen to do.
Okay, and if it's not what God chose to do, it leads to a contradiction. That's what I just pointed out.
Just because that's not what God chose to do does not mean that God does not exist.
Again, because it would entail a contradiction if he chose this world. Thank you for the bullying, Cauldron. I appreciate it. It would entail a contradiction if you pick this world, as God would prefer a world where there's child sex trafficking over a world with no child sex trafficking. God would prefer a world with sex before marriage over a world with no sex before marriage. God would prefer a world where there's lying over no lying. God would prefer a world where there's cheating over no cheating. And those are things that in which God already says that he's against. Appreciate the hand art. Thank you so much. So it would entail contradiction. What part do you dispute amongst that?
You're trying to logically explain the reality that we are living in, from the biblical view. And the entire point of God's plan is for us to do what he is like trying to is to not sin. The entire thing is like,
there you go. He doesn't want us to sin. So given all else constant, he would prefer no sin.
Us to sin. That's
all else constant,
yes.
He wants no sin. Again, both of these worlds have free will. All else constant, no sin. He picks the world with no sin.
So
given that we exist in the world with sin when there could have been a world with no sin, all else constant, that means that this God does not exist because it would entail a contradiction. God prefers a world in which God has a preference against. Appreciate the lock and key. Thank you so much.
So because God did not create a world in which he did already in heaven, everything is perfect, right? This is God's kingdom. He already, dude, just because God did not...
Let me ask you this question. The
world...
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but let me ask, because we've gone over the same thing a million times. No, you're
good.
I'll ask you this question. Do aborted babies go to heaven?
I have no idea. Probably. Yeah. I would say
if they go to heaven, that means that they didn't have to go through the negative experiences on earth to be able to experience the greatness of heaven. So if it was unnecessary for them, So if it was unnecessary for them to go to earth in order to experience the greatness of heaven, why can't we just all go to heaven immediately?
I agree. Why? I don't know.
Wait, do you think that heaven is better than earth?
Yes.
So it would be expected that we would be in a better world rather than being in a worse world.
which is what God is trying to establish.
Okay, so we should already be there.
But we're not, and we
Exactly,
don't know
which means your
why.
God doesn't exist.
That doesn't mean that God doesn't exist. We don't know why God does things. We don't know why everything happens. Like I'm not God, dude. And I am not God. I don't
No, man, I thought you were God. That's so real, dude. I thought you were God, man. So real. You know, I really, you had me fooled there.
Yeah, well, I'm not. Dude, no, it doesn't. Oh man, it just doesn't prove anything. Like the why doesn't. I don't know, and you're not going to ever know.
No, it's false. We know
100%.
it's false. Like the contradiction is very clear. Like
No, you don't.
it actually really is.
Real. You don't know that God is not.
Yeah,
real.
this God, I
It
know it's not real. Yes.
contradicts- It doesn't. Oh man. Sorry.
Appreciate the little crown. Thank you so much.
I'm trying to think of a way to describe, like, in an analogy, so that you could possibly see, like,
If I say I can fly, right? Like I can spurt wings out of my back, right, and start flying into the air, and I can't do that.
that would be
Right?
tight.
Is that a contradiction? Is that not able to happen? I just don't have wings that fly out of my back. Yeah.
Is what a contradiction that you
Oh my
don't
God.
have?
Is okay. That one is so loud, Gerard. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. The thing is so fucking loud, chat.
That was
It's so loud.
hilarious.
W's in the chat for Gerard. Can you say what you said again?
What were you? What was it? Is it a contradiction that you can't fly because you don't have wings?
No, we're not gonna ask that question. That's too confusing. Like the point I was just making is that if I tell you I can do something that's logically contradictory, like make a glass full and empty simultaneously of liquid, right? If I told you I could do that, well then clearly you would know that I can't do that because there's a contradiction. Clearly you would know that that doesn't exist. If I told you that there's a cup in which is full and empty of liquid simultaneously, you would know that cup doesn't actually exist, right? In terms of that context, because there's a contradiction there.
Yeah, but God could do that,
What?
and you wouldn't be able to. God
Wait, you
could
think
do
that
and-
God
and
can
you
create
would-
a cup that is full of liquid and empty of liquid simultaneously?
If the God of the universe, if there is a God who created this universe, he could absolutely do anything that would not. Yeah, dude. God could literally do anything, and you wouldn't be able to fully explain it.
Okay, can God make himself not exist and then bring himself back into existence?
I guess probably.
Who would be there to bring himself back into existence if he doesn't exist?
Oh no, that wouldn't. If it was God, I think he could probably do anything. Probably like disappear and then come back. Yeah, which he did. Literally, like die and then like raise.
So
raise from
no,
the dead.
he couldn't fucking do that. No, because logic exists, right?
Not according to your worldview. No.
No, not according to any worldview that's coherent.
Just because God didn't create a world where there is no sin, like it's like we don't understand. But
Yeah,
like,
it means that
it's
this
like a
God doesn't
training.
exist. Like it's literally expected that there wouldn't be sin under your worldview.
It's like a training ground, and that's basically what is.
We don't need a training ground. Like for example, right? God has knowledge without going through experience, right?
Say that again. I'm sorry, I was reading something.
God has knowledge of everything without going through the experiences.
God has, yeah.
So that means experiential knowledge is not necessary. Okay, so the suffering entailed by experiential knowledge is not necessary. Therefore, the spiritual maturation that has to go through like experience, that is incoherent. It doesn't make any sense. I thought about that for a really long time. I thought that could maybe make sense, but it's absolutely incoherent gibberish because, again, God could have just given us this knowledge from the beginning. And if it is the case that we have to build up the knowledge from absolutely nothing, well, then it also is the case that we wouldn't be able to have morality written into our hearts, right? Because that's some type of innate knowledge that God gives us.
Yeah, we have like innate like understanding, um, but that doesn't contradict itself. I mean,
It
it
like
does.
clearly does, dude. It like actually clearly
It
does.
it explains a scenario, I guess, would be the best way to like describe it. Like, just because God said, I'm creating this world, and that's literally what, like, at the very first story, like, I'm creating this world, don't do this, and they eat the apple, and then, like, why didn't he force them not to? Because we have free will. Why? And then why do things happen the way that they do? We don't fully know or understand. Besides a
Like
trust me,
I
a
get you.
trust me,
Yeah, it is
bro.
just a trust me, bro. Is there anything else you want to go over, Jake?
Nah, that's all, bro.
All right, appreciate you coming on, man.
All right, man. Hey, thank you.
All right, let's go to the next person. If you like my content, make sure to follow me if you haven't already. Everyone, tap that screen. Let's try to get to 1 million likes. Everyone, it will help get out to more people. You already know the deal. Share the live as well. Let's try to get to 1,000 shares, everyone. But let me go to the next person. Again, if you like my content, follow me if you haven't already, everyone. Let's go on to the next person, everyone. Not the trust me, bro. So real. Yo, what's up? How old are you?
Hello,
Yeah, how old are you?
I'm 35 years old.
For sure. Do you think that God exists?
I I sure do.
Why so?
Well, I have a deep faith in what I believe now. I'm going to say this. I do not believe in religion because religion is man-made, but I believe in a spiritual higher being only because of what I've been through in my life. Okay. Now, let me
Do
ask
you
you a
believe in any of the
question.
Abrahamic religions?
In the what?
Do you believe in any of the Abrahamic religions, like Christianity, Islam, Judaism?
I believe when it comes to Christianity, yes, but I don't believe in like uh Baptist, Pentecostal, stuff like that.
Okay.
I'm
So,
I'm more I'm more like I said, I'm more of a not I'm kind of like a non-denominational because Baptist, Pentecostal, all that stuff they start to kind of contradict each other with the way that they believe in worshiping the Lord. Like United Pentecostals believe that the only way to get to heaven is that you have to be able to speak tongues. That's not true. And the Baptists believe that you don't have to speak tongues because speaking in tongues was for the apostles back in the day. Whenever they would go out to different countries, God gifted them the gift of tongues, meaning he gave them the gift to be able to speak the country that they were going to. He gave them the ability to be able to speak their language. You see what I'm saying?
yeah,
That
sure. So, go ahead.
That's what tongues is. Okay, it's not all this a boobla boobla boobla. All of a sudden you're in church and you hear somebody a boobla la 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 la. No, that's not real. That's fake. Okay. Um, like I said, I believe in God solely. I believe in the Bible, but
How do we know that Jesus is God?
well, Jesus is the Son of God, and Jesus also, when the people come up to him and they said, Jesus, if we want to meet the Lord, we want to meet God. And Jesus says, well, you see me, you see the Father. What he was trying to tell them was, I am God. And in the Bible, like during Moses' time, okay, when when Moses would speak to God, I don't know if you know the story of the burning bush and all that stuff.
I'm asking, how do we know Jesus is God? I know Jesus made a claim he is. Appreciate the hand art. Thank you so much. But just because he made a claim, does that mean it's accurate?
I believe it is. I truly believe that Jesus was God. I believe what
How do we
God
know, though?
I believe what God did was he took a part of himself and made and became a human form. Okay, and I believe that's what he done. And Jesus performed many miracles. He turned water into wine. He walked on water. He was able to uh, heal the blind. He was able to help them see again fully. He made the lame walk again.
How do we know these events actually happened?
It's all written in the Bible. All you got to do is read the Bible, and it's
If I wrote down in a book, and there was a book that I found that said that 500 people saw a floating pig, would you believe it?
500. There would have to be proof.
There would have to be proof. Well, why can't we say the same thing about the Bible?
Well, you ever heard of the what do you call it? The Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yeah,
Those were actually texts from the Bible that I believe were not put in the Bible. Um, and Jesus was, they've proven fact that Jesus actually was born.
I believe Jesus existed. I believe Jesus was crucified on the cross. I just don't believe in resurrection.
And that's hard to say because we weren't there. So, we can't say it didn't happen. I mean, we can't say that it did happen. We were not there. I wasn't born, 3,000-4,000 years ago. I wouldn't even thought of
Do
it.
you think the Revolutionary War happened?
The American Revolution.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I believe it happened because
Were you alive?
no, but there's
So just
many.
because we weren't alive doesn't mean we can't determine it. We clearly can determine that events likely occurred, right? But the idea here is that like we don't have sufficient evidence to indicate to us that resurrection occurred, or there's very weak evidence for resurrection.
Yeah.
So that's my point. But I believe in crucifixion. I think there's good evidence for crucifixion. I think there's good evidence for Jesus' existence. But yeah, I don't think there's good evidence for resurrection.
Now, let me ask you a question. Do so you don't believe in God at all?
Nope.
What caused you not to believe in a higher power?
I couldn't rationalize it. I grew up Christian, grew up in a Christian conservative household in Iowa, and I couldn't rationalize it at all. Like there were issues, like mainly for me, it was that I couldn't reconcile the idea that an all-loving God, all-knowing and all-powerful, would force us into a circumstance or coerce us into a circumstance to believe them. And if we didn't believe in them, we would go to hell.
Okay, so pretty much,
I have better arguments now, though.
I'm guessing what happened was, Did you have religion shoved down your throat?
Not really. I mean, like, yeah, like it was what I had to do as a kid, but like I don't have like trauma associated with religion. I had a pretty good religious community.
But what I'm saying, it wasn't forced upon you. Like either you
It
had to
was to
believe.
it was well to a particular degree it was, but I wanted to believe.
Yeah. See, and a lot of times, people when they stop believing, and I hear this all the time, is because when they were younger, it was forced upon them. You
Yeah,
know,
I don't
and
have bad experience with religion like through my life. My
yeah.
life was pretty good associated with religion.
See, when I was younger, I didn't grow up in the church 24/7. My dad worked all the time. Um, but when he wasn't working, he would do his best to try to get us in church on Sundays. Um, but I I used to question a lot of things. Okay, when I was younger, um, and I hate saying this, but I went to I wouldn't call it a revival, but there was this church. I'm from Texas, and there was this church, and they were having this televised event, and this preacher by the name of Jody Rogers was preaching that night, and he was a what you call a healing preacher. He would pray over you, then you're automatically miraculously healed. Okay, and it was his first time to be televised. So uh, he stood up there and he said, "Well, if anybody has any type of disabilities or deformities, please raise your hand. And come on down to the stage, and I'm gonna pray over you." Okay. Well, at the time I was about 16, 17 years old, and I only went there because my aunt had drugged me down there with her, along with my cousin. Well, my aunt raises my hand up. I I didn't want to go down there. Okay. It's not that I don't believe that God can't heal you. I just don't believe that a man can heal you. You know what I'm saying?
Are you trying to say that like there was a miracle that you witnessed? Hello?
Hello?
Are you trying to say that there's a miracle that you witnessed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I would just ask this
All right,
question.
so no, what I'm trying to say is, uh,
Oh, he's lagging chat.
go ahead.
He's lagging a lot. Hello?
Yes, are you there?
Yeah, are you there? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think you're lagging a lot, man. Are you I don't know. We might have to go to the next person. Hello?
You there?
Okay. We're going to go to the next person, everyone. He's lagging a lot. Everyone, tap that screen. Let's try to get to 1,000,000 likes. If you want to help get out to more people, share the live, copy link, send it to a few friends. We're going to go on to the next person again. Only send a guest request. If you do disagree, everyone, we are just looking for some debates, y'all. Let's go on to the next person again. Only send a guest request. If you do disagree, y'all, we are just looking for some debates, y'all. He was trying to talk, man. Yeah, and it was lagging. The devil made him lag. So real. So real. All right, let's go to the next person again. Only send a guest request if you do disagree, y'all. We are just looking for some debates, everyone. Keep tapping that screen in the meantime. Let's try to get to 1,000,000 likes, y'all. Okay, for some reason it didn't accept this person. We're gonna go to the next again. Only send a guest request if you do disagree, everyone. Only send a guest request if you do disagree. Okay, it's not accepting that person either. Let's go to the next, y'all. Yo, what's up? How old are you?
I'm 30 years old.
For sure. Do you think that God exists?
I do.
What God particularly?
The Christian God.
For sure. So why do you believe the Christian God exists?
For a number of different reasons. One, I just believe that Jesus is my Lord and Savior. And then from a historical standpoint, especially when it comes to the other religions, I believe that there's more information regarding Christianity, the Christian God, and Jesus Christ than any other religion or really classical work.
Okay. So, what particularly tells us that it's better than all those other types of religions?
I didn't say better. This is the one that I believe is true based on the evidence that exists. So
Yeah, I'm saying better in terms of evidence. Yeah.
When we look at the wealth of information that exists versus the other religions, and again, very similar to the last guy that you had an extended debate with, I believe that Christianity is a relationship with Jesus. It is a relationship with our Creator. And there are a number of different things, especially the eyewitness accounts from your New Testament, your Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You have thousands upon thousands of manuscripts that have been written about the life of Jesus in particular. And the earliest of those manuscripts are estimated to have existed about 100 years to about 130 years after Jesus was recorded to have resurrected from the grave. Now, when we look at classical writings, let's say I would just ask you, do you believe that Julius Caesar existed, like in history, based on the information that we have?
So you're saying that I would accept like crucifixion and like Jesus' existence in terms of like the manuscriptural evidence. I don't think that there's good evidence to indicate to us that resurrection occurred, though.
Well,
So
I mean,
relate.
the question. The question was, do you believe that Julius Caesar existed, based on what?
I do believe Julius Caesar exists. That's why I established that I already believe in Jesus.
Oh, you do believe in Jesus?
I do believe Jesus existed. I'm not one of those people that doesn't believe Jesus even existed in the first place. I also believe that he was crucified.
Yeah.
I just don't think that there's good evidence to indicate like resurrection.
Well, after
Let
the
alone, I
resurrection,
actually do think that even if resurrection is true, it doesn't necessarily indicate Christianity. But would give more credence, I guess.
Sure. Just like it says, prove to me that God exists. Neither you nor I can prove that God exists. I can't, there's not an article that I can show you that says, look, here, Jesus or God exists. However, what we do with anything is we look at the evidence that exists. And then
What do you mean by proof?
proof, 100% fact,
That's
cannot
not
be
what I mean
proved.
by proof.
Okay.
By prove, I mean like that it's most likely to be true, so that most of the
Right.
evidence is indicating.
Okay, then we're on the same page there. And that's where I'm at. The evidence that exists would cause me to do, when I use my own deductive reasoning, when I go and do my own research, what I come back with is the logical conclusion, because logic is something that the Lord blessed us with, that this is what I choose to believe in based on the information, based on the evidence that exists.
So what's the evidence that indicates this? Like that Christianity is true?
So there's a number of different ways, but let's take the Old Testament, for example. I think that there were over, and I could have this number wrong, but I know it's several hundred. But I believe there's around 1,300. I might have that number wrong. I might need to relook at that. But there are hundreds of prophecies that were made about Jesus. And Jesus fulfilled all of them, right? So when you look at the statistics on the possibility of someone going and living out all of the prophecies that were put out.
Let's just talk about the prophecies. Like what
Okay.
particular prophecies?
That I don't have the verses in front of me, but basically that the Son of Man would come, and he would be laid up, just like Moses when he took the rod, the snake rod, in the wilderness and held it up for the Israelites to be cured of the snake bites that they were getting. They said that the Son of Man would be held up like the rod, the snake and the rod. Just Jesus Christ crucified. And
So there were messiahs that were crucified at that time. So if they claimed that they're God, they would likely be crucified. Plus, this is something that was applied to Jesus when he was born, not something that Jesus necessarily grew up into, right? Do you remember the story of the three wise men?
Of course.
Yeah. So like, clearly speaking, right, this was something that like when he was born in the manger, right, they came to give him gifts because they thought he was already going to be like the Messiah because of the virgin birth, claimed
Okay.
virgin birth.
Sure.
So I don't see how this is necessarily indicating to us that like he fulfilled these things, more or less that he was put in a cultural or set of circumstances in which necessarily applied this to
Yes,
his
but the
birth.
chances that they were talking about this specific individual. For example, again, from the Old Testament, congratulations on the galaxy. From the Old Testament, they said that a son would be born of the bloodline of David. God told David that he would put, basically, for lack of better words, the Savior within his bloodline. So Jesus, when you track his bloodline back through Mary and Joseph, it would track all the way back to the Davidic bloodline. So just those two prophecies alone, that he would be laid up, that the Son of Man would be crucified, and that he would come from that specific bloodline, that just those two alone would be indicative of there's something going on here, basically speaking to the
Wait.
evidence.
By the way, how do you know that came from the bloodline? You said based upon like it came down like that family tree?
I don't have
Because I don't think that we have his ancestry.
we do. I
We do.
don't have it. I don't have it in front of me, but Jesus Christ came from the Davidic bloodline.
Davidic bloodline. Okay, so you're saying
King
that
David. So King David was a king that ruled in the Old Testament. I can't remember exactly what book of the Bible. And basically, due to his obedience to God, he will actually obedience in his certain period of his lifetime, but also disobedience. King David was supposed to do a number of different things, but he disobeyed God. But basically, when he came back to walk in obedience, he said, I will bring the bloodline, basically the Savior, through your bloodline. I wish I had the exact verse. It would make much more sense.
Jesus was 30 years old when he became okay. Was the son of Joseph. So Jesus being the son of Joseph, right? I mean, but that's not through blood, right? Under your view. So Jesus is it would only could be traced through what's his face or what's her face, Mary, right? So not from Joseph.
Again, I don't know.
So we'd have to know that Mary had particular like Mary's lineage.
I don't have it right in front of me. We could sit here and try and look it up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, someone also said in the chat, there's no bloodline to David. Actually no, is Mary a part of David's lineage? I can look it up. Is Mary, the Virgin Mary, a part of King David's lineage? I think it might be through Joseph. It does say that it might be through David. Okay, there's a few things here. I don't think it's necessarily the case that just because that it would be under this bloodline, given it would be applicable to so many individuals at this time period,
Yeah,
that it would be something that wouldn't have been something that could have been like
and Parker,
guessed at that time period.
this is just two examples, right? Again,
No, the second one you referenced was applied to Jesus when he was born.
But it was prophesied before he was born that he would come from this specific bloodline and the other things that he would come to fulfill.
Yeah, so I mean, it's also the case that there were lots of other claimed messiahs a part of this bloodline at this time.
Sure,
that were
but
crucified.
we don't. Yeah, but let's talk about the evidence. Where's the massive amount, the overwhelming wealth of information that we have saying that those people claimed to be the Son of God, claimed to be God himself, and was crucified, and all the number of different things to come in line with the prophecies that were spoken about him before hundreds of years.
But this is something that was applied to Jesus, though. Again,
What do you
not
mean
something
it
that
was
necessarily
applied
Jesus.
to
Again,
Jesus?
we already established this because again, when we're talking about like again the three wise men applied to him, it was already claimed from his birth that this was the case. So he clearly knew the context of the Bible. He clearly knew what the prophecy said, right? He knew what was meant to be fulfilled, right? So not taking that into account is actually very harmful.
Okay, well, so sure, let's take all the information in. But say I wanted to go out and claim that I'm God, right? How do I know that I'm gonna get crucified when this was a brand new way of killing someone from the Greeks? This wasn't
This
like
is not brand new. This is no. Actually, no. It was happening for a while. What are you talking about? Where'd you get that it's brand new?
this was something that was newly applied during that time period,
That's not true.
especially in this area.
I'm pretty sure it was commonly applied by Romans.
Yeah, but they weren't necessarily in this area for I don't know how many years they were in this area.
Okay, so
But for this specific timeline, for the Romans to come,
when did it first come about?
I don't know.
Okay, so we'd have to look that up. Secondly, can you also tell me where in the Old Testament it claims that Jesus was or like the Messiah was meant to be killed?
No, I don't have the specific Bible verses.
Yeah, because some say, like here, I'd have to look up crucifixion. We can look that up in a bit, but I mean, I think both those claims would be things that we'd have to justify before we could continue with that.
Okay, let's go to a different line. We can leave the old, so we don't sit here and try to look up old.
That's fine. So then we would have to. So then, what would be the evidence then? What would be the reason to believe?
So outside of the Old Testament and all the prophecies that Jesus fulfilled, I would go to the fine tuning of the universe.
Yeah, so there's fine tuning in God's mind. Right. So if you're saying that like, oh, the universe could have been differently, right? These constants could have been differently, right? Well, the idea is that God's desires could have been differently as well. God could have desired a world with just slime, but God decided perfectly to desire this world rather than any other of those infinite set of worlds.
Right. So what's the point there? This is
so if you're saying fine tuning indicates intelligent design, then it would also indicate intelligent design within God's mind.
Yes, God's mind designed the universe. Correct.
I don't believe that.
So
So again, in order for God to design this particular universe over other types of universe, it would be the case that randomly God would have had these particular desires rather than any other desires.
he did have these particular desires. He created it.
Yeah, so again, that's you saying that God had these particular desires to be in this particular world is the same thing as saying that the universe has these particular constants to bring about this world rather than another one. Same assumption. Still has the same assumption of the necessary properties to bring about this world rather than another one.
Yes, but you and I sitting here don't know if another universe exists. Based on the belief, based on the evidence, I believe that this is the universe that God created because God is a creative mind. And he built the fine tuning. If just some of the things, or not even just some of the things, if the gravitational force was any different, if the
You
distance
just
from the
restated
sun
what I just
was,
said. Remember, you said if anything was different, it could have been different. Again, if God's desires were different, this world wouldn't have existed. The same thing applies to God's mind. So does that indicate intelligently designed?
it's indicative of intelligent design because the way things are. There is a very particular set of circumstances that needed to exist in order for life to be present.
Yeah, and there has to be a
That's
particular set of circumstances within God's mind for life to exist as well. Because
correct.
again, it could have been the case that God desired slime or God
And
desired Pokemon.
but he didn't.
Yeah, exactly. And in the world, the universe didn't either. The universe ended up with this. So again, in the same way that
Correct.
you're saying that it had to randomly happen that way in the natural world, well, it
It's
had to
not random.
randomly happen that way in the
But
God world as well.
but Parker, it's not random. It is chosen, just like you chose to start this live today. You could have started any live. You could have picked any topic. You could have done